Just to give everybody an update on progress at Clogau, St David's gold mine. We've put out quite a number of releases in recent weeks. One of those was really interesting and very positive was our sampling of the waste rock dump. We've been in and sampled that, and actually that's come up with really, really good results and grades of up to 9.89 grams per tonne from these pits. Average grades for the fine fractions of 4.37 grams per tonne. For the medium fractions, 3.8 grams per tonne. This really gives us a lot of confidence to go back into the waste tip and sample a much bigger selection of the tip. And we've estimated that in total there's about 15,000 tonnes of waste rock there. About 33% of it is the fine fraction. So we're looking at about 5,000 tonnes from the waste rock dump that could be available for processing for gold. So that's a significant, very significant result and could provide us with early cash flow at Clogau. So I think that's a fantastic development. We did think we were going to find gold there because it's inevitable given the nature of the deposit that we would be able to find gold that had been discarded when they were sorting the gold visually, putting the clearly visible gold to one side and then throwing the rest away as waste rock. Now, inevitably, that would lead to discarding actual gold in decent grades, as we've found. But I think the grades have even surprised us. And we intend to go back into the waste rock dump, subject to a further permission that we'll need, no doubt, to go back in and take a lot more tonnage out of that dump and process it in the next few months. In terms of the dewatering of the Leckfraith shaft, which is where visible gold was seen in the late 80s, and so it's one of our key prospects. And in fact, it's also been firmed up by the fact that in our drilling beneath the Leckfraith shaft, we've come up with some really, really promising results and a system of quartz veins that has never been worked before, never been exploited before. So that remains a very key target for us. We obviously will need to dewater that Leckfraith shaft because it is flooded, has been for some decades, I believe. We're in the process of getting the permits for that. It's understandably a bit of a painstaking process because it's very important that we can establish that there are no environmental detriments to dewatering the mine. Actually, as we've said before, the mine water and the water in the shaft is very, very clean. But nonetheless, we're going through the process. We hope to have a result on that soon that we'll be able to announce and confirm by RNS. So we are working on that, as you'd imagine, round the clock to get the permitting in place so that we can start the process of dewatering. As I say, I'm hopeful that we'll have an answer on that very soon. The surface drilling, the phase 2 surface drilling has now been completed. We drilled a total of 10 holes for about 1,470 odd meters. Every hole intersected the main lode extension, and so that was a very pleasing result. The surface drilling has gone really well, both phase 1 and phase 2. There's more details of that in our RNS, but as I say, that's really a pleasing result, and we are refining the targets for future bulk sampling and development. So that's the key to the drilling. The underground drilling, which is ongoing, 3 holes have been drilled so far, 2 of which have intersected the main lode extension north of the Leckfraith adit. So there'll be more on that as we resume underground drilling. All this drilling has been very successful in identifying quartz veins that have yet to be exploited, both in terms of existing targets, like underneath the 710 stope and the grandfather stope, and new targets. So this 550-meter extension to the main lode that we've previously announced, and that's the purpose of a lot of this current drilling, is to firm up on that very large target.
Following a recent historical data review in relation to exploration targets outside the footprint of the Clogau and Gwynfinith mines, we have identified a very interesting gold target area, close to Gwynfinith in fact, involving about 5 or 6 topography controlling north-south structures, all of which were associated or are associated with historical mine workings. What we've done since that discovery is to go into the field, take some grab samples close to those historical mine workings, probably left there during historical mining activity. One of those samples returned very elevated grades of 24 grams per tonne, and other samples similarly decent grades running from 3 to 6 grams per tonne, very, very strong grades in fact. We therefore think there is definitely prospectivity there and potential for both vein and breccia hosted mineralisation along those and between those target structures that we've identified from our field work and from our desktop work. So we definitely intend to go back in and do some follow-up work, mapping more sampling in that area as soon as possible. It's an example of just the huge potential that exists outside of those two historic mines within the envelope of our very extensive exploration ground.
In terms of the processing plant, then, as I said, the processing of the 36 tonnes has been completed. Clearly, we have intentions to process a lot more tonnage through the pilot plant. We will revisit that as and when we get that tonnage. So, for instance, from the waste tip, also from some of the new areas that we've identified through the drilling, and also, of course, from the Leckfraith shaft once it's been dewatered and we've got the permits to go in and sample from it. That will involve most likely a lot more tonnes, a lot more material coming out of those zones. So we will be obviously we will be considering what upgrades are needed to the plant to enable that material to be throughputed, efficiently, and so that we can get a result and a grade result out of those bulk samples. We finalised our assaying of the bulk samples that we'd taken. Actually, the last set of results have been really pleasing. So the final bulk samples that we've processed and sent to the lab for assaying have returned grades of up to 461 grams per tonne. And that's, as I say, a really pleasing result. Grandfather's stope in particular brought in results between 86 to 461 grams per tonne, averaging 187 grams per tonne of concentrate. So really good, solid results. And obviously what we're expecting, there's two things. One is that it's shown that our processing plant is efficient. There's very little gold in the tailings from the plant. And we now have a methodology that we have proven to work to produce gold concentrate. And we're going to take that now into the real key critical piece of work that's going to come next, which is bulk sampling some of the new zones that we've identified through drilling in particular, and hopefully getting much higher grade results out of those, because it's new unworked veins of gold that we're talking about rather than existing workings. So anyway, the work has been important and has given us the result that we were hoping for. So we now take that work forward to the next areas of the mine, which have never been exploited before.